Now we are going to do this path here, and also possibly a path here, and maybe even the fence and a figure. But I think this time I'm going to put the figure over here, because this is my bigger area in this painting. So the way I made this path, is with my liner brush. So I wash it out thoroughly, then dry it a bit, and then I think about where my path is going to go. So about here and down here. So it needs to curve. And what you do is then you get the tissue and you wipe out, and you can start to see the path. Now you can really take your time with this and be very finicky. In watercolor painting, it's not really a good thing to be finicky. It normally leads to weak watercolor paintings. Most of the time you want to be bold. But this is one of those techniques where taking your time can really pay dividends. So there we go. And you can take as long as you want and be as careful as you like. I think I've got a bit of an impatient personality because I don't like to spend too long doing this, to be honest. But you can spend as long as you like, you really can. And then we've got another one here. The important thing is, and I should have said this before, you really need to make sure that these two banks look right. So you don't want this bank to be really high and this one to be super low. They have to balance, and this is especially true with this path. So we want this path here and this path here to begin at the same height on the paper, and you can use your brush like this and to come down, not quite the same point because this is longer, but almost. So there we go. And then and we've got a slightly curving path. And this one, because of the angle, is maybe curving a bit more tightly. This one a bit more gently, because of the perspective. Oh, and there we go. And you can experiment making this path a little bit wider. Can you see how I'm doing that? I'm just painting slightly above and then bringing it into the line. And then I wipe it away, and there we go. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's a really interesting technique which I discovered by accident. And then we can do a fence here. So partly I don't want to do this because it's going to take a lot of time and it's tricky. We have to think about the perspective and it's a bit detailed. So this is our first post. So you don't have to have a fence if you don't want one. And then I'm going to have another one here. First of all, you want to begin with really wide gap here, because this is going to get smaller and smaller. So it's getting smaller in height and it's getting smaller in distance. So I'm doing this very quickly, but you can take your time, and you can even use a pencil to give you an idea of where to put them, and if you make a mistake you can just erase it with a kneadable putty rubber like this. Even a normal eraser is probably okay, to be honest. Yep, it's actually looking fairly good. But remember, these posts are going to also get not just smaller but thinner. So if possible, make these closer ones a little bit thicker. Yeah. This is why I didn't want to paint a fence. A lot of things to think about. And then we've got this thing going across, right? And going up. Okay. Yeah. So this is much easier than trying to leave this when you paint originally. Leave this as a white area, and also of course a white area, it would be too white, whereas this is an off-white, and that looks very good. Looks a lot better than pure white, which wouldn't look natural. Let's do a figure here. So let's think he's going to be about this high, and that's going to be the top of his head. It's a bit too wet. And his shoulder maybe about here, and maybe an arm here. Okay. Can't see anything. So maybe I'll just remove the whole area. There we go. And that too. And then just quickly on this side, about the same height, going to about there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could spend a lot longer doing this, and you can make this even clearer, even whiter. But because I'm doing this for a video and I don't want it to be too long, I'm going through this fairly quickly, and then like this, and like this. It is working out remarkably well, actually. I'm quite surprised. Okay, there we go. Learning to paint a fence by wiping out paint.